Time for our press preview here on Sky News, and joining us tonight for the Sunday papers, broadcaster and DJ Mike Reid and journalist and broadcaster Nabila Ramdani. Good evening and welcome to you.
Good evening.
Thanks for joining us. First, let's update you on the front pages of all those papers, starting with the Sunday Times, which says some Tory MPs are now putting pressure on David Cameron to sack members of his Downing Street inner circle after a series of embarrassments, or as the paper says, meltdown at number 10. MPs' expenses back on the front of the Telegraph, the paper claiming more than 180 MPs are travelling first class at the taxpayers' expense. The Observer leads with an attack by David Cameron, by Lord Tebbit, telling the paper the government's problems stem from a lack of basic competence. Mail on Sunday says that David Cameron is set to shed his hug a hoodie image to announce a new crackdown on crime, or as the Mail says, time to mug a hoodie. Independent on Sunday, claiming that privatising the energy markets created a monopoly that's actually increased bills by hundreds of pounds a year. A rip-off, it says. Sunday Express going with a report from consumer group Which that says that millions of Britons are now borrowing money and raiding their savings to pay for basic food and household bills. And the Sunday Mirror has claims from a dancer that she was raped by a BBC television star in the 1980s. And more on Jimmy Savile in The People, saying he told a journalist he could have his enemies crippled by making one call to his friends in the IRA. And the Sunday Star leads with a Strictly Come Dancing contestant. That's not in your, strangely, selection tonight. However, we'll move on to other matters, to the Mail page.
You mean you're not invited to Lisa Riley's party?
No, I'm very thankful as well. To Roomba or whatever else goes on. Tories poll rating plummets in wake of Plebgate storm. There are the figures, which will blow up in a minute, but no surprise, is it?
No, it's no surprise. I mean, 13 points ahead for Labour. UKIP now in a very healthy third. And there we are, it's a naked body.
Yes,
no
I know. I don't know where that came from. Back to Strictly Come Dancing again.
Got in there.
That's better, isn't it? That's more boring.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I mean, we're almost heading into the winter of discontent, aren't we, really? It's extraordinary with the strikes yesterday, or the potential strikes. Everyone's saying they're going on strike. I mean, London awash earlier on today with police. I mean, absolutely everywhere for the demonstrations, which tells you that people are not happy. When they demonstrate right across the board, they are not happy.
Even when they actually boo Ed Miliband as well, they're even happy with him, are they?
They're not happy with anything at the moment. There is general discontent out there, and it is the most extraordinary scenario.
However, is there something specific about this, and that is that with the figures and the general perception, it is, as Lord Tebbit has reflected, they don't think this government at the moment is competent, that it seems to be getting a lot of things wrong or mistiming them.
Yes, absolutely, and it just shows that the Andrew Mitchell stories does not end with his resignation, and that's why there's a lot of follow-up in the Sunday papers, and rightly so, and it just highlights how what the perception is that this government is indeed out of touch with the public. And I agree with Mike. You know, there was certainly a 1970s feel in the streets of London today with Labour Party-backed trade unionists marching.
Well, even a call for general strike, I think.
I know, yeah, they're talking about
that. Which won't happen, but clearly it's
I mean, that never solves anything. It just cripples the country with more debt, a general strike. So that's a problem. But Cameron is now saying in this piece he's going to claw back some power from the EU. How he's going to do that, I don't know. He's going to say he's going to give a pledge that he's going to claw back power from the EU. And this is, you know, an EU that are using our taxpayers' money to promote the EU back to us that we don't want.
Right, yeah, I follow your thinking. But there's an interesting last paragraph on that story there in terms of the polling. Let me just get that up in more detail. But the Prime Minister still streets ahead as a serious figure. Nearly 1 in 2 regard him as a statesman. Mr. Miliband scores a dismal 22 on this count, because a lot of the criticism was that David Cameron didn't have grip on the government or the Conservative Party, and that he wasn't leading from the front.
But
yes, I think because he's dealing with a very fragmented Conservative Party, and he has to deal with very unruly and angry backbenchers as well. So there's a sense that he doesn't, he's not doing a terribly good job at keeping his own house in order.
As a party leader.
As a party leader.
Yeah.
But I think criticisms are also coming from his policies as well. That Ed Miliband today called him clueless, again reinforcing the fact that he's out of touch with the people. And there's a genuine sense of class war in the air with
Toffs and plebs, as it was being called.
Well,
Yes.
they're only comparing him to Miliband here, aren't they? I mean, they're not talking about serious figures throughout history. It's him and Miliband.
Yeah.
So it's like comparing apples and oranges, or
Right.
which
Well,
are healthier
also an
for you.
interesting figure there that the Lib Dems are doing worse than the UKIP party as well.
Yeah, they're still down at 8% there. Well, we're sort of reversing now. We've gone inside the mail. Let's go back to the front page because there's more on Cameron, and this time it's a new anti-crime crackdown. It's time to mug a hoodie. But we had indications of this from the party conference, didn't we? About householders had the right to defend their home and so on and so forth.
And I think that's quite right. I think they should do as well. There's a bit of a smokescreen here, I think, really. I mean, it's the timing of this, isn't it? Let's crack down. Why not last year, the year before? When they came in, they cracked down on crime. I mean, Blair was going to crack down on crime.
And
Cameron
it just
was going
happens
to
to
crack down on
make
crime.
the front page of the Daily Mail, which has been rather critical yesterday, or the Mail on Sunday, I should say, when the Daily Mail was rather critical yesterday of the Tory government. So,
But it is a bit smokescreen. I mean, it's suddenly like, oh my God, what can we do? It's a deflecting tactic, I think, because you can crack down on crime any day of the week. It's like people that say, I'm going to give up smoking on New Year's Day. Well, you can give it up today.
And in fact, he went a bit too far as to how he dealt with the rioters in the summer. There were strong
summary
criticism.
justice, as some people describe it.
Absolutely.
A better headline would be that it's time to help people of the country, not mug a hoodie.
People are more concerned about fairness. And it has to be noted the number of police officers who were guarding the Starbucks coffee shops today because of...
because of their tax situation.
Exactly.
Yeah, well...
So that fairness should be at the centre of it all.
Well, let's take a look at the People now, because it's the continuing Savile saga. This time a rather bizarre twist. Exclusive, they're claiming, that he bragged he could have enemies crippled with a phone call to his pals in the IRA.
Yeah.
And of course, the problem is we can't challenge this because he's no longer with us to, give his side, and I guess people can make all sorts of claims about him. But
it's quite an astonishing story.
What's the information inside? They've got page 4 and 5 there.
And remember, people, they are the ones who broke the story initially, exposing him as a, distasteful character.
Serial abusers, the NSPCC
the story actually in there is about a journalist, and Savile talking about somebody he knew that had been killed, and he thought the journalist had information. And he said, if you know, I want to find out who it is, because they'll be drinking through a straw in hospital. Every bone in their body will be broken. I'll phone my friends at the IRA. And this guy, who's also called James Savile.
Took it seriously.
He's called James Savile. And he obviously sat on this for a while, and out it's come now. But with Savile's allegedly, was it big talk? I mean, we don't know. But he is saying in there that he passed himself off in our midst as a harmless, eccentric, comedic do-gooder, which he clearly did for a very long time.
Threatening to basically terrify his enemies, and in particular threatening people of violence, people who are trying to silence the victims and his victims, and people trying to expose him.
Right, so maybe that might be an explanation as to why people are reluctant to come forward and make these allegations. But Mike, just describe for us, because we've got this very peculiar sort of volte-face of one of the most famous, pop, primetime television, Jim will fix
cartoon character,
British eccentric, charity, and suddenly, this very dark. I mean, were there any indications to you and others at Radio 1 that there was another side to him, that he was trying to hide something, or that?
Well, we never saw that. I think probably the media and the press might have seen that more. And from what we're reading, the hospitals and the schools were more aware. Saying, I mean, he popped into Radio 1 now and again, yodeled a bit, and generally forgot most of our names, and then toddled off. I mean, we didn't work closely with him, but
well, yeah, he was described as a loner. Tony Blackburn said that from 1971 onwards, he actually distanced himself because he just found him very odd, very strange.
Oh, he was a very odd man, no question about that. But yeah, he was totally distant from everybody else. And obviously, we always thought, oh, well, what a clever bloke. He went to America, sided with Elvis, stood next to Elvis, and he linked himself with the Princess of Wales, with Margaret Thatcher. He mixed with the top of it. Here he's saying he's got great friends in the IRA. I mean, what an extraordinary person he must have been. I mean, you wake up, he must have been very, very, very devious.
And was there that charisma that took people in? Was that one of his weapons that he used?
Yeah, whether it's charisma, what it was, I don't know, but it was sort of otherworldly, I think. He was very otherworldly. He was not like anybody else that you'd ever meet. You couldn't have a conversation. You couldn't have a proper conversation. It was all
I tried to interview him once, I remember, at the Cigar Smoker of the Year award, where he'd gone round and pinched the cigars from the table, putting it inside his pockets, almost like a joke, but he took them with him. And trying to just get him to sit down and talk was impossible.
You couldn't. He had his own vocabulary.
Yeah.
You either joined in that vocabulary or there was no conversation.
But it's astonishing that he should have died as a hero, though.
Yeah, well, that's certainly changed now. Let's go to the Mail, page 9, because we've got Pippa publishing her first book and a frank assessment of her rise to fame, and then the Marlborough effect on her sister. Is that right? It's sort of Pippa and Kate all across page 9.
It's basically stories about people cashing in on Kate's celebrity, including her former school. Marlborough College is planning to open a sister school in America to exploit the fame of now the royal Duchess, sorry.
Yeah, because she's said to have blossomed at the boarding school after arriving at the age of 13. And former pupils, including some other royals as well. But I just wondering what sort of image this is giving, because there you've got Pippa's assessment. It's a bit starting to be recognised all over the globe because of your brother-in-law on your bottom.
See, I mean, she's complaining, but on
is
the
that
one
good
hand,
or bad? I don't know.
On the one hand, she's saying, look, I'm a really normal, ordinary girl that's just got $500,000 for almost next to nothing.
Yeah,
I mean, one of the things she's putting in the book is talking about playing conkers. And, so I could write about that for £500,000 very, very easily.
I mean, I'm sure she has people writing for her about that as well.
Yeah, but
in fact, my bottom is, I say, is probably worth more than that in terms of a book. I mean, I think it's overplayed. This,
What, her bottom?
The Marlborough thing as well is, it's interesting, isn't it, that will other public schools follow suit and go, hold on, why don't we open up in another country as well?
Is it all about snobbery?
Yeah, well, the Americans love that.
Yeah, I mean, they love the royal
I know a lot of old Marlboroughians. I mean, it's a great school. I won the Joan Hunter Dunn tennis tournament there.
Oh, because of Betchman. Four people, of course.
I still have the racket, but great school. But why haven't public schools thought of this before? Cashing in on the Englishness by opening something abroad.
Yeah, but I think Anthony Selden is at Marlborough at the moment, isn't he? He's head of Marlborough, but wondering whether it's got the same cachet, Marlborough College USA. It's sort of Marlborough light, maybe. I don't know.
And it certainly gives Pippa a more, perhaps a nicer image. Remember, she was involved in a not so nice story in Paris when she went. She was celebrating with friends who got involved in with friends pointing guns at Paps and indeed at the police. So, and that kind of disappeared, that story kind of disappeared, so...
I know the Americans...
You obviously remember it quite well.
The Americans, they'll probably think the school's sponsored by a cigarette company, won't they?
Yes, people with cowboy hats. Coming up, why taxpayers are paying for some MPs to travel first class. I'll get you frothing at the mouth. See you in a moment.
You are from New York, therefore you are just naturally interesting.
All I am asking for is $1,100 a month for the next 2 years.
That's insane.
My circumstances have changed and I can no longer afford to work for free. I've been dating someone who treats my heart like it's monkey meat.
And it's like we're all slaves to this place that doesn't even really want us.
Girls starts Monday at 10, Sky Atlantic HD. If you're having chips tonight.
When the night has come.
You may have been thinking about changing your bank recently, but feel that all banks are the same. Well, there is an alternative. Nationwide is a building society offering the products and services you expect, with one big difference. We're owned by and run for the benefit of our members, not shareholders. Switch to us today. Nationwide, on your side.
If you've got more than one car, you could get a better deal by insuring all your cars on one Admiral multi-car policy. You can start with just one car and add the others later. And with Admiral Multi-Car, the more cars you add, the more discounts you get. So for one premium, one renewal, one policy, go direct to admiral.com.
From seriously strong cheddar comes the only spreadable with an extra mature cheddar taste. So tangy, so intense, so overflowing with delicious flavours. Seriously strong spreadable. It's all about the taste.
Back to the Sunday papers. Joining us tonight, Mike Reid and Nabila Ramdani. Welcome once more for the Great British Energy Rip-Off, as the Independent on Sunday declares it. Like, I suspect there are quite a few people at home nodding in agreement with that.
Yeah, I think they would. Of course, Cameron is now, saying we're going to be on the lowest tariff. How they're going to implement that, heaven only knows, but that's the plan. And other people, of course, saying that, we should be competitive. But when this competition, a lot of people don't know, and I think it's confusing for a lot of people when they go online. Not everyone can go online. Not everyone has a laptop. Not everyone has the time or inclination to constantly compare whether they're getting the right deal or not. And often companies don't tell them. But now, Cameron's saying everyone should be on the lowest. But our energy, really, there's so many wind farms now, and they're just such a tiny percentage of the power.
But the problem the Independent seems to point out, despite all this, there is no competition. It is still a monopoly, despite these separate providers.
So it's the government giving the wrong impression that they are in fact working for the interests of the consumers by opening it up to competition. But the result is, according to the Independent on Sunday, and I'm sure it's been verified, and it's a very thorough study, that in fact you don't get a better deal for consumers, and that people feel it when they receive the bill.
And one assumes, therefore, that is a failing in government, in that if they set up a watchdog, it has to be effective. And one of the jobs of that kind of organisation is to ensure there is fairness in pricing and fairness in competition, which clearly there isn't, according to this investigation.
Yes, and that you can't just declare that by talking to a newspaper and declare it as a policy that you've indeed...
Or Prime Minister's questions.
But it's not about the money, it's where the energy comes from, isn't it? The exploration of shale gas is a really obvious one, and they found a ton of it off Blackpool.
Well, there are a lot of analysts saying that actually the oil price could actually drop quite dramatically because of the various fines that are going on.
Yeah.
So all this move away from fossil fuels, actually, perhaps if you get better technology to make better use of the fossil fuels, that might be one of the answers.
Absolutely right. And of course the Germans are getting rid of their wind farms already. As we're building more, they've hold on, this is not working. So they're getting rid of them. We're building more, but you're absolutely right.
Or maybe access to more oil as well, following the conflict in Libya.
And the deep sea holes as well. There's some very deep holes in the oceans, Pacific and Atlantic, where they can get a lot of power. If they can get the machinery stabilised down there, they can get a lot of power out of it. So that's another possibility.
What is this the sort of thermal power coming up from the...
really, really deep holes where the tide's very strong.
The tidal effect.
Yeah, tidal effect from deep holes in the ocean,
Right, well that's got everyone gnashing their teeth at the energy rip-off. Let's get them gnashing at MPs travelling first class now, which is in the Telegraph, continuing its campaign, should we say, on expenses.
Yeah, well, it's very much the expenses paper.
180 MPs enjoying first class train travel at taxpayers' expense. And some costing up to £300, 5 times more than the cheapest standard fare on the same route, and we're paying for it as a taxpayer.
On the one hand, I'm not really bothered. And on the other hand, I think their PAs and their secretaries should go for the cheapest price, because you can, if you're travelling, they know when they're travelling. You go for a couple of days before, you can get a really cheap deal. You pay at the ticket office, you get the most expensive deal.
Wasn't that Osborne's defence, that they had got a ticket on an earlier train, which is obviously a cheaper deal, but they'd missed the train and therefore they had to buy the extra ticket? But
I think it's a big story over nothing. I mean, really, I mean, we're picking at absolutely everything now. Everybody's cycle ride, their train fare, their plane fare, their houses.
However, interesting point here, and that is Labour have obviously had to go about, you know, out of touch. High-profile politicians who claim for first-class journeys include Ed Balls, Yvette Cooper, Frank Field, Alistair Darling on the Labour benches. So,
but I think it's coming to something when we have a newspaper story about who has travelled in which seat on which train and when. Really, I mean, in the overall scheme of things, they should get the best deal they can. If they happen to have to travel on a later train, so be it. But do we really want CCTV watching them all, you know, picking on them all?
Well, I don't know. I think it's in the interest of the political class in general to appear to go into politics to serve the public and not to serve themselves. And what the Telegraph stories have exposed again, time and again, is that politicians, you know, are doing quite well out of the system. And that's...
And the other issue, you know, about being out of touch, and maybe if politicians have to stand on a commuter journey, having paid an exorbitant amount to get to and from London, then perhaps they may be rather more sympathetic to, you know, the complaints of commuters about transport policy.
Prices are too high anyway. You know, they're the highest in Europe anyway. They're far too high.
Yeah. Anyway, that's obviously the continuation of, although they haven't got the box about the expenses scandalous, but certainly some people may describe that as scandalous. Now, let's take a look at the sport pages, because you've picked this up in the independent sport pages on Ferdinand and Ferguson. Disobeys angry Ferguson as racism row refuses to go away. Let's just actually play in first what Sir Alex Ferguson has said to this so we can set the scene.
About Rio Ferdinand, I know what you said yesterday in your news conference. How disappointed are you that he didn't wear the kick it out t-shirt today?
I'm very disappointed. We support the PFA and the request from them, and all our players obeyed that, and he's let us down. So we'll deal with it.
We'll deal with it. And one can almost, I was just saying, it's like Blofeld stroking the cat, you know, we'll deal with it.
Yes, it's very, very Blofeld.
What is Ferdinand doing?
I think there's something to be said about you know, when you try, like Ferguson did, try to involve everybody in a sort of mass protests, you know, some people are bound to defer. And that's what Ferdinand, you know, he didn't want to join in that mass protest effectively. It doesn't mean that he doesn't agree with the overall message of this campaign. He has very passionate views himself.
Well, does it actually go further in that he and others are actually indicating they don't believe this campaign is actually having any effect, that it's failing, and by not wearing the T-shirt, that's the point he's making?
Yeah, I mean, you can't tell people to do things, you can only suggest, and it can only, you know, take place over a period of time.
Even if you're Sir Alex Ferguson?
Yeah. Yeah,
really?
even if you are.
I mean, it's a brave man to cross him, isn't it?
But it's interesting. We're just saying of Otis now. I said that how racism has been dealt with over the years. Back in the 1930s, I think it was, when Dixie Dean, playing for Everton, came down. I think they were playing Spurs. Came off the pitch. Somebody made a racist remark. He just had very dark skin.
Yeah.
Made a racist remark, and this guy grabbed Dixie Dean, top player, grabbed him, hit the guy, went down like a sack of potatoes. The policeman standing next to him said, "Good shot, sir, didn't see a thing." Dealt with. Now, everyone's fired. Policeman, police commissioner, the footballer, litigation, I mean, front page of the paper, will go on for weeks.
Discussed in a paper review on Sky News ad infinitum. I know it's, but there we are. Yes.
They didn't think it would be discussed tonight, you see.
Some may share your view about that might be the way forward.
Dixie thought he got away with it.
Now, last thing on the Mail, page 4. And we're going to take a very quick look at, come on.
Oh, yes.
Is this the naked body?
Yes,
it's back. Here we are. We kept the treat for last. Love Mystery of Holmes and his naked co-star. You've got 35 seconds starting now.
Okay, fine. Well, as his co-star in the States now is a female Watson, I think in the future we could see a love affair between Holmes and Watson. You could just write your own punchline there, couldn't you?
So I was momentarily
I can think of a couple now that I can't say.
Yeah,
but
indeed. Anyway, on that note, thank you very much indeed. Good to see you. We'll see you again soon. Coming up, Sky News at midnight with more on that hit and run rampage caught on CCTV. We'll have the latest for you from Cardiff.
Jane, thanks. This is Anna and Simon. Nice to meet you. Come in. You're covered in bog roll, man.
I'm a mummy.
Of course. No, girls. It's just minor technical difficulties. It won't take long.
Unlimited, but slow.
Forget the download. Stick a CD on.
I spent all week finding the perfect playlist.
Oh, haven't you got Infinity?
We're students, love. Can't exactly afford fibre optic.
Well, actually, love, I'm a student too.
Really, it doesn't cost that much.
Yeah, you'd be surprised. We've got it at ours.
And there's more room.
Yay, party! Everybody's shoes off.
BT Infinity Superfast fibre optic broadband from just £9 a month.
At Simply Health, we want to help you look after your teeth and keep a healthy heart. So we thought we'd share how research suggests there may be a link between dental health and cardiovascular disease. To take a look at this research and read our free health guides, go to our website or like us on Facebook. For every like we receive, we'll donate £1 to Heart Research UK. Simply Health. We can be bothered.
Ping, pong, ping, pong, ping, pong, perfection. That is magical.
So this is my favourite feature on the Sky Plus app. It's like a remote control. You can pause things on the TV, you can rewind it from here. You just swipe like this, it fast forwards the TV. Do you know what? Try it on your kids. You could just be sitting there and you can just click here. Pause! I just did that to the TV. It's voice controlled. All TVs could do that now. Why don't you have a go and get them shouting, pause! Oh, Dad!
I was concerned because I didn't really know how I was going to manage.
It's tough coping with the money problems cancer can cause, but Macmillan Benefits Advisors are here to support you every step of the way. Call us free on 0808 808 0000 or find us online.
From passionate fans to outstanding goals from all over Europe.
Oh, magnificent!
It's Champions League week.
He's at his brilliant best. Celtic are living the dream!
Including Barcelona v Celtic, Shakhtar v Chelsea, Ajax v Man City and Arsenal v Schalke.
Arsenal to the seal on a great night's work.
The UEFA Champions League kicks off early, Tuesday and Wednesday at 4:55 on Sky Sports.
The moment of horror on CCTV as a van in a hit-and-run rampage struck a young family. A mother and 2 children die in a fire in North Wales. Neighbours are arrested for murder. And marches throughout the UK to protest at spending